into the regular season. Now, let's go out and talk more about that with our very own Nick Eatman out at AT&T Stadium. He is live on the sidelines. First off, Nick, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I like the red tie, very festive on your side of things. I'm right there with you. But what is this feeling around this game? Of course, after the loss to Jacksonville last week, has there been any letdown going into this as opposed to what it could have been?
Well, I think so. I mean, I think the luster of this game is kind of worn off a little bit. I mean, yes, once things kick off, it's going to be exciting. It's Cowboys and Eagles, and you've never really needed much more incentive than these two teams facing each other to get excited about it. But you can definitely tell that, it's not what we thought it was going to be for. Maybe it was going to be for the division. And even with Jalen Hurts' injury, like you guys were saying just a few minutes ago, puts a lot more pressure, I think, on the Cowboys. Instead of being the team chasing Philly, they're the ones that have a little bit more pressure. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good atmosphere. But it doesn't feel like you would think it would have felt maybe a month ago.
Might have been one of the go-to games of the NFL calendar. Not only the Cowboys or Philadelphia calendar, but the entire league. And they still have their eyes on this one. As, of course, the Cowboys, anytime they're on national television, there will be eyes watching. But a lot of eyes on that cornerback spot as well. Dan Quinn said earlier in the week, Mike McCarthy kind of backed it up in the fact that there is going to be a rotation and a bit of an open competition outside of Kelvin Joseph at cornerback. What do you expect that rotation to look like today?
Well, I think it's going to look like Mackenzie Alexander in the slot, Deron Bland starting on the outside, and, of course, Trayvon Diggs on the other side. And, he's been dealing with an illness, but he is out here. He's going to be able to play in this game. And, and Kelvin Joseph's going to get some reps, and Nashawn Wright. It comes down to, I haven't seen this shirt, but, Jason Garrett used to have T-shirts all the time. If he would ask me opinion on this shirt, I would have one that says MAP. Make a play. That's what these cornerbacks have to do. Make a play. Somebody step up and make a play. The world's watching here. Devontae Smith, he's really good, and he's the second best receiver they've got. Somebody's got to step up and make a play. Trayvon Diggs, as good as he is, as great as he is, can't cover two guys. Can't cover more than the other guys. So, I think the Cowboys corners have got to rise to the challenge here.
And I think you're not alone in thinking that. Of course, Dallas Goedert also added back into the fold for Philadelphia this week after spending some time injured on their side of things. So another weapon to throw the football to, making things tougher for this Dallas secondary. But let's talk about the offensive line. There is plenty of rotation that has been up front. Last week, seeing Tyron Smith and Jason Peters kind of flip-flop at that right tackle spot. Do you expect more of the same today, or is it going to be a little bit more stagnant up front for the Cowboys?
I would expect Tyron Smith to play as long as he can on the right side. And he said he felt really good in that first game back. So I don't know about the rotation here with Peters or Josh Ball or whoever. This is a guy that has missed the entire season up until last week. But the offensive linemen, the great ones, they stay on the field. I would imagine that Tyron Smith will probably play most of the game at the right tackle spot. Yes, Jason Peters, former Eagle, would probably want to play some, and maybe he gets some time at other positions. But I think as long as Tyron can go on that right side, I'd keep him there.
That's probably good news and music to the ears of a lot of Cowboys fans that have been frustrated with maybe some of that rotation back and forth on the offensive line. Nick, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again later in the show. Nick Eatman from AT&T Stadium joining us here on Cowboys Pregame Live. Back here with Nate Newton, the 6-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champ. You've also got the festive red tie on. It looks nice.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Very nice. Where's the Santa hat? You got that coming up later?
I got that coming. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
There you go. Something to look forward to. Let's take a look at this inactive list for the Cowboys, because we just talked about a number of injuries at the cornerback spot. Anthony Brown, of course, Jordan Lewis out for the season. Here's a long list of players also not available today for the Cowboys. Sam Williams, who was involved in a car accident earlier in the week. So glad that he is okay, but he is out with a concussion and a bit of neck tightness there as well. So happy that he is back with the Cowboys. He's just not going to play today, unfortunately, for Sam Williams. Leighton Vander Esch on that list as well. He's got a stinger in his shoulder. James Washington, Jalen Tolbert, a couple wide receivers. Trayvon Mullen there as well, who you thought might have been in that cornerback competition with Kelvin Joseph, Nashawn Wright, and company there there too. So which one stands out to you the most when you look at that inactive list?
This team has been suffering against the run. Leighton Vander Esch, that is a big loss, along with Jonathan Hankins, who's out on the injury list. But I'm telling you, without those two guys right there, our run game is going to suffer. We was getting better and better every week until these two guys left the game. So with that right there versus the run, we're going to be hurting with those two guys out. But the pass, Sam Williams has been a terror, especially in pressuring the quarterback and trying to make him move around off his mark. So in the past, we'll miss Sam Williams a whole lot.
Yeah, both of those guys have made impacts off of that second level. Where does that kind of put the pressure on to somebody else on that defense? Is it more pressure on the linebackers, those edge rushers? Where do you look?
I just look at what our two guys are, Neville Gallimore and Big Bo Hannon. I wonder what they can do, because they can alleviate some of them pressures by pushing guys forward, by eating up blocks and letting these guys like Damone Clark have to show up. Luke Gifford may get some run today. Yeah. Jabril Cox may get a little bit more run. So these guys got to show up big, especially when it comes time to cover some of these guys, and Jabril Cox and Damone Clark.
Yeah, you talked about Jabril Cox. The fact that he was not on that inactive list means that he's going to be playing today. He is ready to go for the Cowboys, so you'll get to see number 14 on that second level. Now, we also have a couple of other guys that we have to mention. Jonathan Hankins, you talked about him. Terrence Steele at the offensive tackle spot. Leighton Vander Esch. 5 starters on this Cowboys team out due to injury. They almost added a 6th. Dorrance Armstrong was a little banged up as well, but he is able to go today. How much does this affect a team as a whole when you have so many players that you usually rely on that aren't available?
Anthony Brown has cost this team. Sorry that you're injured, but we have not in the last few weeks been able to cover for him. We criticize this kid, but you see how valuable he is in knowing where to be, how to play guys in certain situations. Anthony Brown is a big loss, because we're trying to replace him at corner.
How do you overcome these injuries, though?
Through scheme, through players doing extra study, through coaches putting guys in position. But once they put them in position, they have to go out and perform. That's how you do it. You have to do it with depth.
Yeah, you got to do it with some depth, and you don't have a whole lot of that depth at the moment, because you're running pretty thin, not only on the defensive side of the football, but offensively. That offensive line is going to be tested today. These were the type of games you would get up for back in the day. You loved these matchups because Philadelphia's front 7 leads the NFL in sacks. 55 on the year. They have 19 through their last 3 weeks. How does this Cowboys offensive line come back what they put up there on the line of scrimmage?
Don't do the musical chairs. Let the guys stay where they're at so they can try to build some rhythm. Run the ball, shorter passes starting out, screen passes. Their front 4 has 34 sacks out of those 55. So you don't have to do your job as an offensive line. And you can't do that by one guy. Hey, is it Tyron? Is it Peters? Is it Smith? You can't do that right there. You have to stay unified so you can move forward and make some things happen and give Dak opportunity to get rid of that ball.
How much does reliability play into that?
It's everything. It's everything. Showing up, being what you need to be, and being who you need to be. That's everything.
And one of the guys that's been reliable for the Cowboys is Zach Martin, of course. He's been fantastic at that right guard spot. He's got a new running mate, though, and it's not the guy that he's been next to at the right tackle spot throughout. It's a guy who's played with since 2012 or 2014 whenever he was drafted. Zach Martin next to Tyron Smith, making that right tackle and that right side of the line of scrimmage pretty Pro Bowl heavy. Here's Haley Sutton with more.
When Tyron Smith suffered an avulsion fracture during training camp, Jerry Jones assured us we would see the future Hall of Famer on the offensive line before the end of the season. Now, as we know, he made his debut on Sunday against the Jaguars, but he was in a different position. And while he said there's plenty for him to improve on ahead of kickoff today, the rest of the offensive linemen were pretty impressed.
I'm pretty much hard on myself. I could perform way better than I did last week, but just continue talking to Zach and be on the same page with him and kind of work through my technique and so I can feel more comfortable with it.
Tyron Smith was only supposed to play 20 to 30 snaps against the Jaguars. Instead, the 8-time Pro Bowler was in on 54, all of which were at right tackle.
Well, we all, talked amongst ourselves immediately after, Terrence went down to see what was the base case scenario for the team. And, they asked me, how I feel playing right. And, I've said anything that'll help the team win. I'm all about winning for the team. So, the switch was, it was best for the team.
We obviously lost, a big piece of what we had going in Terrence, and we knew when he went down those were huge shoes to fill, and luckily Tyron stepped up and said, I'll play over on the right side, and I think that's made a huge difference for us and will moving forward.
The move put him next to fellow Pro Bowler Zach Martin, who says Tyron's ability to switch sides of the line showed just how valuable his experience is.
I don't think people understand how hard it is, especially a guy who's played one position for 11 out of his 12 years. So it's extremely impressive to see him go in there. And honestly, when you watch him move and set, it looks like he's been playing right tackle his whole career.
With Tyron ramping up at practice this week, rookie Tyler Smith is finding his footing in Tyron's true position. He's been holding it down all season at left tackle while learning from the trio of Gold Jackets to his right.
Just watching how they go about their business, the consistency in their sets, consistency in their fundamentals, their understanding of the game. All those things are just just helping me as a player get to where I'm trying to go. So just having these guys in the building has brought me leaps and bounds from where I was when I first stepped in. And, they're continuing to help me get better every day.
Yeah, I said this is one of the most complete teams that we've been a part of, and I think everybody understands the opportunity that we have going forward. And everybody wants to get their championship, and so we're pretty much all focused here to make sure we do everything the right way.
Now, Tyron Smith was asked earlier in the week if he's had a chance to think about his future with the franchise and with the sport. He almost immediately said no, that he was just taking it day by day, one game at a time. He did say, however, unlike previous injuries in the past, this one he knew he would have the opportunity to come back and play, and that helped keep him motivated throughout the rest of his rehab. Here at the stadium, I'm Haley Sutton. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you so much, Haley. Of course, Tyron Smith and Zach Martin have both been a part of some NFC East crowns and never won it back-to-back, though, because it's been 18 years since a team has won it back-to-back. The 03-04 Philadelphia Eagles and the defending division champion Dallas Cowboys are in a little bit of trouble starting this week. Of course, the Giants and the Commanders are already eliminated from NFC East contention. They can make the playoffs, though. Actually, all four teams out of the NFC East can make the playoffs. Philadelphia can wrap up their first division title since 2019 today with a win. They only need one more win in the final 3 weeks, but there is still hope for the Dallas Cowboys. It's a slim sliver of hope. They need to win back-to-back titles by winning their final 3 games and Philadelphia losing their final 3 games. But really, what really matters for this Dallas Cowboys team this holiday season is playing better going into the playoffs, building some momentum, fixing some of their issues, and maybe finding a couple presents of promise. And we've got some Secret Santa to hit today here on Christmas Eve. The Cowboys have sent us a couple presents, gentlemen. How nice of them. Yeah. And we're going to tell you how they can get better here in these final 3 weeks of the regular season. Nate, we'll start off with you. What you got over there?
I got the biggest bag, so I got the biggest secret, man. Let me pull this out, man. Whoa, a bunch of ties. What does this mean for me? I'm in knots. Ties all over the place. That must be the offensive line and all this moving around they doing. Ooh. We got Tyler Smith, we got Tyler Biotish, and we got Tyron Smith. You know what? We don't need to do that today, fellas. We need to make sure we get in one spot. Don't play musical chairs because it will hurt you against these Eagles. Wow.
Ooh, lots of ties for Nate Newton from Secret Santa. Barry, what'd they send you? It's a nice bag.
It is a nice little snowman on top of it. It's pretty cool. Oh no. Exactly what this defense needs right now. A corner opposite of Trayvon Diggs. Oh my goodness. Because right now, Calvin Joseph, he's just not doing the job as that number 2 corner spot. Each and every time he stepped onto the field, it hasn't been great. We go all the way back to the Colts game. He gives up a TD in that game. Houston, he was targeted 6 times, gave up 5 catches for 69 yards. And then you talk about last week in Jacksonville, he was victimized for 2 of Trevor Lawrence's 4 touchdown passes out there. If it's up to me, we got to give somebody else an opportunity at that number 2 cornerback spot. I'm thinking no Sean Wright. Leave DeRon Bland on the inside. He's doing an amazing job at that nickel spot. But somebody else has got to man that number 2 corner spot because Kelvin Joseph, he's just not getting the job done.
That's a huge question mark for this team, especially going up against some of the weapons that Philadelphia has. I've got a big one here. I don't even know what this is. Oh, my goodness, it's a ruler. How about that? Packaged very nicely. Wow. But I've got a ruler. This must mean separation for the wide receivers. You got to get some separation, Michael Gallup, because because over the last 2 weeks, 3 receptions for 42 yards. That's not going to do it if you're going to be a wide receiver 2 in this league. You've got to be better. Find some supplement production for CeeDee Lamb, who's been playing like a wide receiver 1, actually a top 5 wide receiver in the NFC. Michael Gallup, I need you to step up this week. I need some separation. That's what the ruler's for. Actually, it's probably a yardstick, right? That's a full yard. We need about 100 of these from Michael Gallup today.
Yeah, all right, let me see what I got in this bag, man. I guess I got the second biggest bag here, so go ahead and dig on in here. Let me get rid of that bag right there. Oh, I got the gift of a football. Listen here. Dak Prescott's been giving everybody gifts, and unfortunately, he's been giving the defense too many gifts as of late. He has 11 interceptions on the year, 7 over the last 4 games. The Dallas Cowboys cannot continue to win ball games as long as Dak keeps turning the ball over. Find out who you need to get the ball to, identify the coverages, and protect the team by protecting the ball, sir.
That's the last one, Dak, okay?
Yes,
That's
sir.
the last one you're giving away all holiday season long. So we've got a bunch of ties. We've got a missing corner, a little separation from the wide receivers, and no more gifts given by Dak Prescott this season. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that one, though. What's been wrong with Dak Prescott? We'll start by what he said earlier in the week in the interceptions he's been giving up as of late.
Yeah, not to brag, but I'm pretty mentally tough. I wouldn't, if I'm outside, I wouldn't worry about that for 1 second with me. And if I'm not, I'm for sure not hesitant or scared to say that, hey, that I'm struggling a little bit. When something like that's happening, it's about just knowing who you are. Continuing to double down on that, staying focused, understanding that, yes, some things are out of your control, but I'm in charge of my attitude, the work ethic that I put in, the way that I respond, and that's all I'm doing each and every day when I wake up is just trying to get better. And, when you're in a rut, I guess you can call this, as I've talked about, whether one way or another the other team's getting their hands on the balls. I can't allow that to change the way that I'm playing this game.
Mike says keep firing. Is he telling you the same thing? Don't stop.
He doesn't have to, honestly, and I can't say that we've had that sit down and discuss that. But yeah, that's part of it. When you play this game, when you're throwing the ball in the tight windows, when you have the trust that I do with receivers, sometimes things happen. Sometimes the D lineman just gets his hands up and tip the ball. So as much as I can say we've got to avoid these, some of them are just going to happen. So for me, it's about, as I said, controlling what I can, being in charge in the way that I respond, the way that I show up each and every day, and I'm not going to allow that to change my confidence in myself or my confidence in the guys that I'm throwing it to or the way that I approach this game.
Dak Prescott speaking on some of the mental toughness he's had to show throughout this 2022 campaign. But does he have an interception problem? Here's his numbers throughout his entire career. 2016, it started off, you take care of the football, and 2017, not so much. But really, outside of this season, 2022, things have been pretty good for Dak Prescott in terms of taking care of the football throughout an entirety of the season and an entirety of 16 games or so. But just 9 games in, 11 interceptions. What's going on with Dak Prescott? Why is this a problem?
There's 3 areas that Dak Prescott needs to improve on. One issue he's having a problem with is coverages, identifying what the coverage is and then making the proper decision based upon that coverage. And then the third thing is just the location of his ball. Okay, it's a big difference when you put it on one shoulder versus the other, and he's running into some issues with that. That's why we're seeing some of these tip balls kind of show up. But we're going to take you guys through a couple slides to show you guys exactly what's going on. Okay, I'm going to explain to you guys what the coverage is. Against the Texans, we have a cover 3, super duper basic. Nothing special here. These are the responsibilities for each defender on this particular coverage. You guys see it right there. What Dak is trying to get to is a slant route. He's trying to take an easy win, but in order to do so, he has to do it within this little window right here, okay? So the ball has to be thrown on time. Let's go ahead and push play to the next section. All right, right now, if Dak is going to throw that ball, Dak has to give him the ball right now, meaning the ball has to be in his hands in that window that I was just talking about. If it's not in this window right now, what ends up happening? This man that's in coverage, now what's his responsibility? To get out here to the flat. Let's go to the next slide. Boom, there he is. The ball gets tipped right here. He tips the ball. This man right here ends up getting the interception. That's one turnover for Dallas.
Yeah, one turnover, and it's one of many for Dallas throughout. And this one, there was a little bit of pressure. He had his back against the wall. I mean, he's standing in the middle of his own end zone. Is the offensive line a big reason for this, for Dak Prescott struggling?
Not at all. This is a pocket, okay? That is a pocket right there. I don't care how you want to cut it. He does have to step up right there. You see a little bit of pressure coming off the edge, right? Some are going to say that he got his arm hit, but at the end of the day, this is all about the coverage again, okay? What is your responsibility right here? This is cover 2. His job is to sit there. Sit there. We have a man getting out in the hook, sitting in the middle, getting out in the hook, taking the top off right here in this coverage. That is the responsibility of these guys in cover 2. What is Dallas trying to do? They are taking their man and they're trying to run right in this gap. So they're trying to split the difference between these two men right here. You have a man coming from that side, man coming from that side, and you are literally trying to sit in this window because of the ball location is very important once you understand what the coverage is. All right, go ahead and go to the next slide. You guys see right here, Dak throws a ball. We just mentioned that there was a lot of pressure right there. He throws a ball, but instead of throwing it right here, he ends up throwing it right here. All right, so right into that cover 2 corner. That is the problem I'm talking about in terms of identifying what the coverage is and then making sure that the location is right based upon that coverage.
So location, you've got the accuracy of it all, kind of playing a factor into it. You mentioned some of the other factors, though. How does that come into play? And it did so earlier in the season against the New York Giants.
So on those first 2 plays, you saw that he understood what the coverage was, but he didn't get the ball there and based upon the right location. Okay, cover 3 and the timing, right? So timing and location go hand in hand. Cover 3, proper read, bad timing. Cover 2, proper read, bad location. Now we're coming to 2-man and understanding what the coverage is and making the proper decision off of that. So cover 2-man, very much so like cover 2, but the only difference is this man is going to follow that receiver wherever he goes. That safety still has their halves. These guys are going to be in a trail scenario here, but that's where the difference comes right here, okay? This guy is going to push and sit on the underneath hip of this receiver. Reason why, he wants to funnel this receiver all the way to his help right here. So he doesn't really care what happens over the middle. What you're going to see Dallas do is run a cover 2 beater. So this is a cover 2 beater. If you're going to throw this route against these guys, this is the man that you typically want to come to up top. All right. So you guys want to come up here to this corner route. If you don't go there, then you probably want to throw the ball away. Let's go ahead and see what happens with Dak. Next slide. You see the CeeDee Lamb running right through the middle. So CeeDee Lamb's running his route. He's going right over the middle. I just talked about how that man wants to sit in this trail technique. You guys see him sitting on the hip pocket, just like I mentioned. What's happening right now? This safety is now eyeing this position, and he's also eyeing this route right here. And this man is looking for anything coming across the middle. If Dak is going to throw this ball has to be thrown into this window right here. It has to be over the top, trying to split those safeties. So because we already understand that these guys are getting wide. What can't happen on this particular play is that the ball gets thrown underneath. And that's what Dak does here. Dak throws the ball underneath, okay? Because it gets thrown underneath, the ball gets tipped. Because the ball gets tipped, another interception.
Tips and overthrows.
Got to get those.
Got to find a way to get it. These two, or at least three plays, two games, were a big example on why Dak Prescott has struggled in terms of throwing interceptions throughout the back half of this season. He's got 10 interceptions in his last 5 games. No other quarterback in the NFL has more than 5. But another way that could help Dak Prescott, maybe these wide receivers need a little bit more separation. Here's CeeDee Lamb on the matchup this week and how he could help out his QB1.
I feel like that's all a personal thing and not just as a receiver in general. Winning leverage, of course, versus the defender, no matter what it is, and just being aggressive at the point of attack. And I feel like whether it's catching traffic or bumping at the top of the route, just always trying to win in the rep and get the ball.
Is this the best cornerback tandem you guys face?
Yeah, most def. If you look at it on stats and on paper, most def. I mean, it's on film also, so we got to play our best game, put our best game together, and I mean, you can't really take these guys lightly.
What do they do to make it difficult?
They make plays. They're very instinctive, both of them, Bradbury and Slay. I've been seeing them both. Slay is much more your technician. He's not really going to touch you much, but you're going to have to do a couple things to get yourself open. And of course, Bradbury is more your taller defender, harder to get, see the quarterback, and he's been playing well.
One thing that could help Dak Prescott out a little bit further as they take on the Philadelphia Eagles today is getting some separation from his wide receivers, which is easier said than done. CeeDee Lamb's been great the last couple of weeks. However, today he goes up against a stout Eagles secondary. It's led by Darius Slay. And Barry, as a former defender, you have to love what this Eagles secondary has done. What makes them different?
Well, look, this Eagles secondary, they have experience out there. When you talk about Darius Slay, a.k.a. Big Play Slay, this guy is a technician out there, all right? The experience he brings to the cornerback position is unmatched in the National Football League. But this guy is great when you talk about coming up the man-to-man coverage. He can get up in your grill. He can get them hands on you. He's not the most physical corner out there. He likes to use his feet more. So if you get him a little razzle-tazz at the thing, he's going to be able to move them feet and be in front of you the entire time. This guy's a technician, like I just said, but he can also play off coverage as well. This guy can play off coverage, and I think that's where he is at his best, because he uses his experience to read the quarterback. And if you don't give him any sauce at the top of the route, he's going to be all over that like white on rice. All right, this guy is experienced, and he will be able to take advantage of this Cowboys offense if they do not play him correctly. Now, with all that being said, Isaiah, how can CeeDee Lamb, Cowboys' #1 receiver, take advantage of this matchup against Big Play Slay?
Well, as you just mentioned, there's two different ways in which Big Play Slay likes to play defense, and that's going to be up in your face, all right, occasionally, and in the off coverage. So if he decides to walk up in the face of Mr. CeeDee Lamb, he's got to be really good with his hands. So CeeDee, he's got to be able to shoot and be able to get his hands up off him, be able to swim and get into his route. All right, he's not going to like that. So what's he going to do? He's typically going to back up and play where he's comfortable at so he can see the receiver and he go ahead and see the quarterback. Okay, so what typically happens is he has to be able to get into his route, and CeeDee's got to be great at the top of his route. So he's going to be here, he's going to have some physicality, and he's got to use what we call a chicken wing. All right, this chicken wing, it gets you out here. Now it's not a dance, it's not the dirty bird. Okay, it's to get him off of you without using your arm to fully extend. That's going to give him the separation at the top of the route and be able to give you that half yard that you need to be able to catch the ball. The last thing that he can do technique-wise to get open at the top is misdirection. If he knows he wants to break down this way, he has to be able to turn him to get him to turn his shoulders. And once he turns his shoulders, now he can go ahead and come back downhill, get the ball, make it do what it do. That's what Dak's going to have to do in terms of finding CeeDee the ball. CeeDee's going to create that separation, and we have big plays on our side instead of Big Play Slay.
Yes, that's got to be huge for Dallas, because this wide receiving core has had some struggles in terms of creating that separation. Michael Gallup, maybe some of these tight ends, they haven't necessarily provided bigger windows for Dak Prescott to throw the football to. But you've got a Pro Bowler in CeeDee Lamb. You've got a Pro Bowler in Darius Slay. You've also got a former Pro Bowler now on your roster, T.Y. Hilton. What can he bring to the table? He spoke to the media earlier in the week on how he can maybe provide an impact for this Cowboys offense.
Right now I feel good. Learning the offense down. I got it down packed. I've been studying 10 hours a day, so I got that down and feel good. So for me, physically, it's not up to me, it's up to the coaches. So I'm just going to continue to grind, continue to get better, and when my numbers call, I'll be ready.
What do you think you'll add to this offense?
My veteranness, me being able to go out there and make plays and just help the best way I can, and just show y'all that, I'm still here.
When you watched the game the other day, did you see ways that you think you can help pretty quickly?
Oh, absolutely. Just me being out there, my presence. You got to respect me. You got to account for me. So I can help in that way, and I also can just help bring something different to the table.
Talk about time on task with Dak. How's that process been?
Oh, it's been good, man. We just continue to learn each other. Just me constantly learning his signals, learning how he look at the game, and just constantly just talking to him and just getting to know him.
He is active today. What can we expect out of T.Y. Hilton? Of course, the veteran wide receiver, 4-time Pro Bowler. Last year, 23 receptions, 330 yards, and 3 touchdowns in 10 games. Back here with Nate Newton and Isaiah Stanback, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Cowboys getting ready to face the Eagles. They'll have T.Y. Hilton. What can we expect?
I expect that he gets a toss to him at least once every quarter, and I mean deep. He's a speedster. Let's use him. That's the one thing we've been missing, ability to stretch the field. He can catch the ball. Let's use him and stretch the field.
This man has the go and the juice. When you guys think about the receivers, you think about CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's had a pretty good career so far, right? Started to pick things up. CeeDee Lamb has been averaging this year and over his career 13.4 yards per reception. Okay, that's pretty good, right? Well, let's think about one of the most explosive guys in the game. What, Tyreek Hill?
Yes.
Tyreek Hill has averaged 14 yards per reception over his career, okay? Now you think about that. That's one of the most explosive guys around. T.Y. Hilton, last year, T.Y. Hilton averaged 14.4 yards per reception, and over his career, 15.4. So you think about somebody who is more explosive than even a Tyreek Hill over this span of his career. This guy can make plays, push the ball down the field, stretch this defense out, and then you can rely on your franchise player, Dalton Schultz, for some of the moving and chains movements.
So you want him to go downfield. You want him to go back to prime T.Y. Hilton. None of this underneath possession receiver type of stuff.
Down yonder, Kyle. I want him to go down yonder around the corner corner down the bend. Okay, get this man the ball, and even if he doesn't get the reception, the defense has to now respect the fact that you have the ability to push the ball down the field, and then you have a gang of other guys that can be your reception guys.
Does that open something up for Michael Gallup here, Nate, if
does.
he's downfield too?
It does. It opens up for everybody because now your deeper crossing routes come into play, and that's where Gallup, you don't have to do a double hitch. You can just go across the field while this dude is speeding down the field.
It's something to keep an eye on. I'm really excited to see how they utilize T.Y. Hilton because he does provide options, and that's something that this Cowboys team has not always had on the offensive side of the football. One thing they have had is a ground game, and they have proven throughout the year that, of course, they are a ground-first offense. Ezekiel Elliott getting warmed up at AT&T Stadium behind us. They like to go to the ground first. Over the last 3 weeks, they've averaged 167 yards on the ground per game, good enough for third in the NFL. Nate, how do they stick to that against Philadelphia in that front seven?
You have to. You are forced to do it this week here because your defense is wounded. You got to find a way to run the ball. You got to be creative with it. Yes, you have to have a few reverses. You have to run the ball. Use Tony Pollard a little bit more. And you know what? A screen pass is a run. Try to use him out there.
Man, keep doing what you've been doing. These guys have been doing a great job of running the ball on the ground, as you already mentioned, Kyle. Zeke has over 188 attempts. TP has 177. We're talking about 10 touchdowns versus 9 touchdowns. Just keep giving these guys the ball. Kellen Moore, the challenge is for you to stick with it. Don't get pass happy. Don't get outside of the foundation of this team simply because you have weapons on your squad now. Run the ball until these guys force you to pass it, and then when they make you pass it, make them pay.
So with both of these guys, Zeke and Pollard, who do you want to see more of? Just one-word answers here. Who do you want to see more of?
I hate to say it, but I want to see Pollard. We need explosive big plays.
Who do you want to see?
I want to see Zeke more, consistency.
Okay, well, Nate, just by the way, it's Pro Bowler Tony Pollard from this point forward because that's what Tony Pollard is this year, a part of the first Pro Bowl team that he has made and one of 7 Cowboys that have made the Pro Bowl this year. Zach Martin in his 8th appearance, DeMarcus Lawrence in his 3rd, Trayvon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons all in their 2nd. And then there's the 2 first-timers down there at the bottom, Tony Pollard, Kevontae Turpin. Nate, which one sticks out to you the most?
You know, and you said Pro Bowl Tony Pollard. Well, once you is a Pro Bowler like I am, you just call him by his first name. Tony Pollard, he's my first choice. I am so proud of him for taking advantage of all his opportunities. That kid Turpin has played a whole year of football and still playing at a high level, like what's going on there.
Well, I don't have no pro nor a bowl next to my name, but I can tell you guys that I am proud of not only TP and everybody else on this list, but more so than anybody, Kevontae Turpin. You talk about somebody who has been through the mill in terms of his career, working his way to even have an opportunity to be on an NFL roster, and now all of a sudden he's one of the 2 most feared returners in the game. Kudos to him.
He shared some tears with Mike McCarthy and John Fossil when he was told the news earlier in the week, happy tears. No doubt about it. I mean, that's the thing about Kevontae Turpin, though. He came from the fan-controlled football league. He went overseas, then was the MVP of the USFL. We were making jokes in the preseason, Isaiah, when he had the 2 return touchdowns against the Chargers at SoFi. We called that game. But we were making comments of, hey, the NFL needs to be on notice. They're on notice now. He's a Pro Bowler at this point.
Baby. That's me too.
Hey, there you go.
I touch off with all these dudes, dog. That's right. USFL, I understand.
And another one of those Pro Bowlers is DeMarcus Lawrence and his 3rd career Pro Bowl nomination, and he's certainly very deserving of that. Our very own Haley Sutton had a chance to sit down with D-Law earlier this week.
Yeah, Kyle, well, I had the opportunity to sit down with DeMarcus Lawrence last week just to talk about his journey with the Dallas Cowboys. He's, of course, played all 9 of his years here in Dallas with America's team. And while he hasn't quite gotten the recognition that I personally think he deserves for his work this season, he says he's not really worried about that. He's just focused on one thing, that's getting his team to the Super Bowl.
How special has this journey been for you?
Yeah, it's been very special. When I first came into the NFL, you know, the older guys will tell you NFL stands for not for long. And, you know, just looking up and seeing that I'm in year 9, it's like, man, like, you know, just thank God, you know, for, you know, blessing me to, you know, even be able to last this long, you know, in the NFL. But particular, you know, being able to do my job at a high standard.
We talked about at the top of this conversation, you're now on the veteran side of things. At what point did you start to recognize that veteran side of the ball game for you? Like, has it changed at all?
I was the type of guy that, you know, like I just want to go on the field and lead that way, you know, by my play. But also, like now it's like, all right, you have to lead off and on the field. So, I don't think it's a, major adjustment. It's just something that you have to, dedicate to. And I feel like, it's been working for me, off and on the field, helping my teammates, but also helping my family. So, it's just all about growing as a man. And I think, this chapter of my life is what's helping me grow.
The theme this year has been resilience, and Mike McCarthy's talked about it a lot. When you look at your career and your story and your time with this organization, how do you think that fits into that theme of resilience?
Oh, man. I mean, just check the background, check the history. I feel like me personally, dealing with what I had to deal with, getting drafted, being injured, coming back, getting injured with back injury, being suspended, just going through all those different cycles. It was either life or death in my eyes. It's either you're gonna have a football career or your football career is over. So, being able to, be resilient and understand I have to step up, not just for me, but also for my family. I feel like it shaped me into who I am today.
Guys, when you think about the word resilient being the theme for this Dallas Cowboys team, there's not many players that fit that description better than DeMarcus Lawrence. We'll see what effort he puts on the field today as they get ready to take on the Eagles, but I'll go ahead and send it back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you very much, Haley, and happy holidays to you out there at AT&T Stadium. Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Gentlemen, this defense needs a rebound. 40 points last week, first 40-point game underneath Dan Quinn as defensive coordinator. So throughout the last couple years, last time they gave up 40 points was in 2020 against the Washington football team on the road. That was a nasty game in the weather, and they gave up 41 points in that one. And then the last time they gave up 500 yards, which they also did last week, was last Thanksgiving against the Las Vegas Raiders. They're going up against a good offense, even without Jalen Hurts. How do they rebound?
Well, it might sound a little bit cliche, but I think they got to get back to the basics. I feel like, Nate Newton already talked about it earlier in the segment. Alignment, assignment, key, and technique. They've got to get back to those things because 500 yards, that's totally too much offense for guys out there. 192 on the ground, you're giving that opposing offense the ability to hit you both ways, and that's not what you want as a defense. They got to get that swagger back. It starts with the basics.
I'm going to go ahead from a quote from Wakanda where they say, show them who you are. Okay, they need to show them who you are because these guys have been a monster in terms of points allowed. Okay, these guys are 7th in the league in terms of best in terms of points allowed, 7th and best in the league in terms of yards allowed, but 8th worst in terms of rushing yards allowed. So go out there and show them who you are in terms of coverage, in terms of denying people from getting in the end zone, but sure up the running game, and then you probably sure up things on that side of the ball.
I'm not going to go there. Line up in the proper place. Know your job. Do your job. Don't go for the fakes. Play down and distance. If it's 1st and 10, play a normal defense. If it's 2nd and 7, play the normal defense. Don't try to be fancy. Just do your job.
Do your job, and Micah Parsons has done his job. He's the only one with a sack in each of the last 2 weeks. So with that being said, how does this pass rush get back to normal, Nate? Because, yes, you got to do your job, but the others around you have to as well, right?
I agree with you 100%, but you know what? We got 2 Pro Bowlers in DeMarcus Lawrence and Michael Parsons. They have to create pressure. They have to find a way. Dante Fowler going to have to pick it up. Chauncey Golston, he's going to have to pick it up. These guys, when you get a pass rush situation after you stop the run, you have to just do your job. You are Pro Bowlers. Act like it.
They're going to have to tighten up 3rd down. 3rd down has been a pain in their butt over the last few weeks. You look at the Texans. Texans were 53% on conversions. They had 16 first downs. The Jaguars were 66% on 3rd down and had 26 first downs. So you're talking about sustainable drives. That's what this defense has been giving up. They got to figure that out.
Yeah, this unit on the defensive side of the football, they got to step it up. This is the unit that's supposed to be the strength of the entire defense. I understand you're dealing with injuries in your secondary as well as the second level of this defense, but you got one of the best players in the National Football League in Micah Parsons. You got Pro Bowler DeMarcus Lawrence out there as well. You got to step up and start creating some pressure, alleviate some of that pressure on your back end with the 2 rookies starting at the defensive backs. Come on, defensive line, you got to step it up.
How does that send shivers down your spine as a former defender, thinking about 500 yards, 60% 3rd down?
Disgusting.
It's not what you're used to, right?
Not at all.
When you were in a secondary though, and you had injuries like this, because every team goes through it at some point, right? How do you have a response? Because there's going to be a rotation at corner. How do you combat that with the guys that you have now?
You got to understand the new strengths and weaknesses of the guys that are filling in. Like you said, you got over there before. You got a number 2 corner in Anthony Brown out there who, beforehand, he was a technician out there. He might have gave up some deep balls, but you understood his strengths and weaknesses. Now you got a younger crew out there. You got young DaRon Bland. You got Kelvin Joseph out there as well. You got to go over there and help some of those guys perform because they're not as experienced as the rest of these guys on the defensive unit. You got to understand your weaknesses out there, and hopefully this defense does.
I hope that they go out there and play a little bit of 2-man. We haven't seen much of that this year.
That's true.
We've seen a lot of single high man coverage, but if you allow these guys to go play 2-man, they could be a lot more aggressive at the line of scrimmage with knowing that they still have help. Where's the advantage of that? Their front 7. If those guys can get home and you're playing 2-man, it makes it really difficult on offenses to be able to get some yardage.
You just got to put your hands on them. When it's time to press these guys, you can't miss because these receivers can get behind you. And I believe you. Hey, you're aggressive, but you're backing up. With that 2-man, you got some help over the top. So take a high percentage chance.
So Nick Eatman said earlier that Mackenzie Alexander is probably going to play in the slot and DaRon Bland is probably going to make the move to the outside. As a rookie, Barry, how tough is that to go from the slot to outside? Because DaRon's been inside for the majority of the year.
Yeah, I don't agree with that transition. If I was, the Cowboys, I would keep DaRon Bland inside at the nickel position. He's a rookie. He's not like he's an experienced vet out there, and he's doing a phenomenal job. You don't want to put too much pressure on his plate by moving him from the inside to the outside. If it was up to me, I would have had one of those other corners, either Alexander or Nashawn Wright, go onto the outside, flavor a little bit of safety help on top. But to me, you got to leave Bland on the inside, man. He's doing a great job. You won't want to put too much on the rookie's plate.
Okay, so with that being said, Isaiah and Nate, who do you feel comfortable with at the cornerback spot outside? Because he just said he would rather have some of these other veterans back in the fold. Who would you rather have out there?
If they come up and press?
Sure.
If they come up and press and use that old Al Harris technique, I'm going to go with Mr. Nashawn Wright. I want him to come up there and throw them doggone E Honda hands, them Dawson arms, and put some hands on somebody and bless them, okay, on this good old holiday, because I need them to be able to get their hands on guys to disrupt their timing. Minshew has not been the guy, which means they're already going to be struggling to have some timing. If they can disrupt it even a half a second, there's going to be opportunity for some turnovers.
Me, I'm an offensive lineman, and I believe in laying hands, so I'm going along with that. Whoever can lay the most hands legally, I'm going with that.
Yeah, that's it. Nate Newton, he wants to throw hands. There you go. That's what he's trying to do here. Now, Trayvon Diggs has been doing that throughout his career. 3rd year in the league. Of course, he's got 3 interceptions again. Now, with all the injuries at corner, does it force a change of the game plan? Is he going to travel with the best wide receiver?
Oh, if it's up to me, DCBC, put him on number 11. I don't want any other guy watching A.J. Brown out there. He's too physically imposing for these other guys. Diggs, you're supposed to be that guy. You're going to get paid a lot of money in the future, all right? You're going to be one of those top corners. Before, I would have been a little hesitant on it because his technique was off. To me, this guy now has become a complete lockdown corner. He deserves the right to go ahead and shadow one of the best wide receivers in the game, and I feel as though the Cowboys should be able to put Diggs on A.J. Brown. Could be a heck of a matchup.
I like some of what you said. I don't like some of what you said, Barry. Simply because of the standpoint, A.J. Brown, if you follow him, okay, there are plenty of other guys that can hurt you on this team. I'd rather shut down one side of the field than to become a decoy for them on this side of the ball. I hear what you're saying, though. You like to shut down one of their weapons, but I'd much rather shut down one side of the field than one of their weapons.
Because I think you can put a safety or a linebacker underneath or a safety over the top. As great as Diggs is, man, I take away one side of the field because what if he go into the slot and my boy Diggs fall into that slot? That means your other players got to be smart enough. And we don't know as young players, are they smart enough? The guys they brought in off the street, are they smart enough? So I love you, Barry, but I'm out to ride with you.
We're starting to take sides here on Cowboys Pregame Live. Now, Trayvon Diggs in 4 career games against the Philadelphia Eagles, he has 4 interceptions. So maybe that'll continue. The only game he did not have a pick was earlier this year in week 6. So huge opportunity for him against some of those weapons, and maybe, like you said, Isaiah, just sticking to one side and going up against a couple guys, trying to shut them down. Let's go back out to AT&T Stadium, though, and join Nick Eatman, who now is joined by Cowboys COO Stephen Jones.
Thanks, Kyle. And as always, we're here with Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer here at AT&T Stadium, and getting the crowds kind of filing in a little bit. Everyone's kind of getting excited for this one. This was one that we've had circled the entire season. I know you're not supposed to do that, but human nature not to. Is this game still kind of living up to the hype that we had earlier in the year?
Well, whether anything's at stake or it's all at stake, any Cowboys-Eagles game or any game we play in the East is a big, big deal. But yeah, this is a big game. They're playing the best football in the NFL. The record speaks for itself in terms of having the best record in the league. Certainly know they're coming in here without their MVP candidate in Jalen Hurts, but not unlike we were ready to play with Cooper Rush. I know they'll be ready to go as well with Minshew. So this is going to be a big challenge for us, but we're up for it.
You feel like when Dak got hurt, the defense kind of took it up a notch a little bit. You know, good teams, a lot of Pro Bowlers have a way to kind of rally around the situation. You expect Philly could do the same?
I wouldn't expect any less. I mean, they've been playing championship football all year. I'm sure they'll be at the top of their game. The players that are out there, obviously they got two great receivers that Minshew can look to that are going to give us fits, and they do a solid job of running the ball always. So this is going to be a big challenge with and without Jalen Hurts.
You don't have Leighton Vander Esch in this game at inside linebacker. Micah Parsons has been sick, but he's going to play in this game. And then on Friday, a scary incident with Sam Williams in a car accident. Happy that he's okay, but not going to play in this game. Are you concerned at all with those positions?
Well, anytime you're missing players, you're not at full go. But that's that's what happens in the NFL this time of year. A lot of people have injuries. A lot of people have challenges. It's just how you answer the bell. It's next man up. We feel really good all year about the depth on both sides of the ball on this football team. So fully expect our group to step up, play well. You always hate to miss, 2 or 3 guys that you wish you had out there. But, again, I expect our guys to step up and do a good job.
How about T.Y. Hilton? Going to play some today. What do you expect to see from him?
Yeah, I mean, he's the ultimate pro. We brought him in here, to bring some seniority to the room. He's done that. He knows how to play this game at a high level. He's done it his whole career. And expect to see some good things out of T.Y. today.
And one more. How about right tackle? I was asked this question, didn't have a great answer. Tyron Smith, I was hopeful that maybe you would see less rotation and more of him on the right side. Is that the anticipation for you?
Obviously, as we go, we expect him to be in there full time. You got a great player like that. He doesn't need to be watching from the sideline. But at the same time, we'll see how the day goes. They were going to play it by ear, but I know he's getting close to playing full time.
I would imagine here with the game going today and Christmas Eve, shopping is done for you?
Hopefully all done.
All right. And the Christmas wish would be obviously
a big win here for not only everybody in the organization but our fans. They've supported us all year. Be a big way to start Christmas, and hope everybody out there has a great Christmas Eve and a great Christmas.
All right, thanks for stopping by. Merry Christmas to you. That's Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. Kyle, we'll throw it back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Nick. Of course, the Cowboys trying to gift a win to Cowboys Nation. You can give the holiday season with a Dallas Cowboys United membership. Gift your superfan an annual fan club membership and fan pack for as little as $20. 'Tis the season, but you're running out of time here. Learn more at DallasCowboys.com/United. That would make a perfect late shopping gift. If you forgot something along the way, just go online, DallasCowboys.com/United to get it done. Back here with Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton. Time now for keys to the game. Cowboys looking for win number 11. They thought they had it last week. How do they close it out this week?
Micah Parsons, D-Law, the rest of the crew. I need y'all to make things hard for Gardner Minshew in the pocket. All right, you can't let this guy have a clean pocket. We've seen what it does to your defense when that happens. That defensive line, let's get going.
I like it.
Offense, no more than 1 turnover. We can't afford to give these guys more opportunities. He just talked about how they're going to make things hard on Gardner Minshew. We can't give them more chances than what they deserve.
Their defense is very scary, so we're going to have to control the time of clock. I mean, I say it every week, but trust me this week, you better control the time of clock.
There's one way to do it and take care of the football, time of possession. I mean, there's a couple ways that you can get the job done today, but this Philadelphia team is very, very stout up front. Control the trenches is my key to the game this week. Win the trench battle. Get it done. I want the Nate Newtons to get out there and rule the line of scrimmage. That's my key to the game this week. Another key is have a happy holiday season, everybody. From our crew to yours, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Here's our crew out at the stadium saying happy holidays. Tons of great, talented people in the building. They are out there on site at AT&T Stadium. We've got Pete's group in the back. They're the ones that keep us on the air. They keep all the flyers out and do a great job of doing so throughout the season, off season as well. They are year-round here at the Star. Then you've got our camera operators in the studio. Look at D over there waving. How about that? And then we've got Terrence. Oh, yeah. This is live, by the way, everybody. T-Money, we've got D. They do a fantastic job. And then in our studio, look at our studio. Wow. Oh, man. Love these guys. They're all fantastic. And Caden Gates up there on the right, newly engaged, by the way. Proposed to his girlfriend yesterday. Congratulations, Caden Gates, on that. So they are now fiancés. How about that? Yeah. So we did see somebody in the back there, though. Jody Reimers, who is our graphics operator, graphics aficionado. Yeah. He brings the holiday spirit all December long. Look at all of these sweaters that he wears. This is every single day he brings the holiday spirit, honoring a late family member. We love Jody. We love his Christmas spirit. He's always got the swag.
Always. Dripping. Look at those sweaters.
It's every day. It's a different sweater. He doesn't wear the same one twice, which is so impressive. And we love that. It's a little tradition we have inside the Star. Thought we would share the Christmas cheer with you guys as well. But that's going to do it for us here on Cowboys Pregame Live. 3:25 kickoff Central Time. It's the Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Enjoy the game. And, of course, join us on DallasCowboys.com for some post-game coverage. For Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long. We'll see you next time on Cowboys Pregame Live.